Welcome back once again, NEC Hoops fans. I'm Ron Ratner here, as always, with Ryan Peters for the latest NEC On the Run podcast. Ryan, we have 3 weeks left in the regular season. We have teams jockeying for one of our 8 playoff spots, one of the 4 home games for the regular season title. We're going to talk about up top. Merrimack has some company. 3 teams had perfect weekends. So what better time to take a look at our weekend takeaways? All right, Ryan, what jumped out at you the most?
Oh, the PA schools once again had a big week. Robert Morris and St. Francis University both picked up wins on the road at Sacred Heart and at Wagner. You look at the Red Flash, they've now won 4 in a row. They picked up 2 big road wins. And Keith Braxton reinserting himself into the discussion.
Reinserting himself?
Yeah, on Twitter we've been discussing, Isaiah Blackman's had a really good year, EJ Anasicki, AJ Brahma, but yeah, Braxton actually reinserted himself, in my opinion. Averaged 22.5 points, 7.5 rebounds, shot 64% from the floor in the 2 games. And obviously he had a big game winner against Sacred Heart. We're going to talk about that later, but in that second half against Sacred Heart, he had 14 points against 0 turnovers. They couldn't guard him, quite frankly. He was unstoppable. And then against Wagner, the Red Flash, they got balanced. Blackman had 22, Braxton 22, Miles Thompson. I really like his game. It's really coming along as a sophomore. He had 14, and then Gaskins Jr. and Flagg had 10 each. So they're really solid offensively against Wagner. Shot 55% from the floor. Got to the free throw line plenty and made those attempts. They're looking good, and they're in the driver's seat right now for, at the very least, number 2 seed in the NEC tournament.
Now the Red Flash still have to play Robert Morris twice. Robert Morris also coming off a huge weekend, also with 2 road wins. Talk to me about what you saw with the Colonials.
Well, it's interesting. In the 2 road wins, they barely got into the 60s scoring-wise, but once again, an Andy Toole team playing defense. They forced a season-high 26 turnovers on Wagner, scoring 27 points off those turnovers. And then in a tight win over Sacred Heart, they forced 17 turnovers. The thing that really impressed me this week was the depth that Robert Morris has. Charles Bain really came out and played a great game against Sacred Heart, probably his best game of the year, quite frankly. Not only did he score 16 points, shot 4 of 7 from 3. 3 of those triples he made right away in the first half, really set the tone for that Colonials team. But also, he played great defense. His assignment, EJ Anasicki, only had 1 offensive rebound. He did a great job. Even though he's giving up a lot of weight there, he did a great job boxing him out, and he was a terrific 2-way player for Andy Toole.
I find it funny that earlier in the year when we talked about Robert Morris, we were talking about their firepower and their 3-point shooting, and we've sort of shifted now to their defense, which has been their mainstay over the last, 3 weeks of the season?
Yeah, defense has been their mainstay since Andy Toole's been there since 2011, right? What it is, it's a versatile team. They go 8 deep. They could win a variety of different ways, and that's what you want. That's the kind of versatility you want going into the NEC tournament, when you have to win 3 games in a row. And quite frankly, those 3 games are not going to materialize the same way each time.
Robert Morris now neck and neck with Merrimack, 10-2 in the standings, game and a half ahead of St. Francis U. Let's look a bit down the standings. What a big weekend for Bryant. They really needed those 2 wins.
Absolutely. Juan Cardenas is returning to his old form. Back last February, he was kind of a terrific 2-way player for the league. He's doing that now. Averaged nearly 14 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists on 8 of 12 shooting in the 2 wins over St. Francis, Brooklyn, and Central Connecticut. Patrick Harding was a rebounding machine, had 28 boards, and that Bryant crew, they out-rebounded their 2 opponents 98-63. That's incredible. And they just were unstoppable on the defensive glass, grabbed 80% of their opponents' misses, and limited St. Francis and Central Connecticut just 17 second-chance points. They really were doing it on the front court this week.
Patrick Harding, really impressive what he does in limited minutes. He's pulling down almost 10 rebounds a game, playing only half a game.
Yeah, he's one. Him and Anasicki, I think, and Brahma. Those are the 3 best rebounders in the league. The thing I like about Harden's game too, he's a terrific passer. He's terrific out of the post. Not the most offensive-minded guy, but defensively, you stick him down at the 5. He gobbles up defensive rebounds with the best of them.
I think we got to throw Ty Flowers into that rebounding equation, especially considering what we'll talk about later.
Yes, that is very true. We will talk about Ty later, but he definitely is in the top 5 in rebounding, if not in that group of 3 that I just mentioned.
Taking a look at the NEC standings, we mentioned the top, St. Francis U and Robert Morris, still 2 more head-to-head meetings there. Then you have that next grouping, Ryan, the Sacred Heart, Mount, LIU, those teams right now all fighting for a top 4 spot. Then you have St. Francis, Brooklyn, Bryant, FDU, as of now, all qualified for the tournament. And it's not over for Wagner and Central. The time's running short, but there's still time for them to grab one of those 8 spots.
Yeah, you look at the standings right now, 8 teams, you look at that bottom tier in FDU, Bryant, and St. Francis, Brooklyn. No one wants to play them in the first round. They're most likely going to go on the road in the NEC tournament quarterfinals, but that's going to be a tough matchup for, say, Robert Morris, St. Francis U, or even Sacred Heart.
Yeah, and they're only 2 games back of the LIU and Mount, so there's still time for them to move up, snag one of those top 4 spots. Should be a great race over the last 3 weeks of the regular season. For our Twitter timeout, we go to the St. Francis Brooklyn men's hoops account. Ryan, what a day for St. Francis Brooklyn's Larry Moreno, a sophomore, sat out last year with an injury. He's only played a few games this season. What a game coming off the bench. The Dominican Mamba rocked the Pope Center in the Terriers' win over the Mount on Saturday. Ryan, is this sort of finding that gem in the middle of the season? Is a gift been bestowed upon the Terriers?
I think Glenn Breaker is certainly hoping so. Moreno has been injured. He tore a hip labrum as a freshman. That's why he missed all of last year. But he's always had a tremendous amount of talent. He scored 2,000 points in high school. I know Glenn Breaker was talking him up going into his freshman year. He thought he was going to be a freshman contributor right away. It's been slow to get him to full speed, but as you could see from that performance, 9 shots and still produces 19 points, 5 of 6 from 3. He's a dynamic scorer who could score at 3 different levels, and you insert him into that lineup, you add Hawkins and Higgins and Moreno and McLean. You could run 4 guards out there at times.
Absolutely, Ryan. Larry Moreno, the NEC Rookie of the Week. Looking forward to see what else he has in store for the Terriers this season. Now we go under the radar. We've been spotlighting guards most weeks, Ryan. Who do you have this week?
Mark Flagg of St. Francis University. Everyone talks about, I think Joe DeSantis called them the killer bees, Braxton and Blackman, but Mark Flagg has done an excellent job shoring up Rob Crimmel's Red Flash, especially down low. His tip-in that final minute of that classic Sacred Heart game on Thursday was pivotal in the Red Flash getting that win. It gave him a 3-point lead. I know Aaron Clark came down the floor and hit that 3 to tie it up, but then that kind of set the moment for Braxton in the game winner. Flagg scored in double figures 3 of his last 4, but even more importantly, he's just relentless on the offensive glass, and he's currently the team's best rim protector, currently 4th in the league in block rate at 6%.
Red Flash have 2 of the best in Braxton and Blackman, but Mark Flagg, a key piece as SFU looks for that first NEC title. Now we move on to our Star Watch. We're going to go to LIU for this. We'll talk about their game against Merrimack, but certainly the star of the day there, Ty Flowers. Ryan, talk to me about the game he had on Saturday.
27 rebounds against that Merrimack defense. A historically good Merrimack defense is incredible. It's the most rebounds in Division I basketball this year. Only 7th time since 2000 someone's had at least 27 rebounds in a game. Just an incredible effort. A couple weeks ago we were talking here at the desk about EJ Anisicki and averaging 11.5 rebounds a game. Flowers is actually at that number right now in league play, 11.5 a game, and additionally he's scoring. He's had 8 straight games in double figures, and Saturday's win against Merrimack was the 5th time that Flowers has made at least 3 triples and corralled at least 10 rebounds in a game. That kind of shows you the versatility he has. He's a matchup nightmare as a 6'8" stretch forward, and it's no surprise when he does that, grabs at least 10 rebounds, shoots really well from behind the arc. LIU is 4-1 on the year.
Flowers also had 25 points in that game, so a 25-point, 27-rebound game, only the 2nd player in the last decade in NCAA Division I to do that versus a Division I opponent. And you have to mention, he broke Carrie Scurry's record, an all-time LIU great, played in the NBA. Carrie Scurry had 26 back in 1983, so it was 37 years to the day that another LIU player, Ty Flowers, makes school history and NEC history. And he's our star this week. Play of the week time, Ryan. I know this one must just kill you to do, and we've been talking about it endlessly. But our guy, Keith Braxton, doing what he does best at the end to nip your Pioneers.
I can't get mad at Rob Crimmel in the Red Flash. This is just a perfectly designed play at the end of the game. It's a great luxury to have 2 of the 5 best players in the league, Blackman and Braxton, who can kind of take that final shot. But Rob Crimmel, he scripted it perfectly here. And all game, Sacred Heart could not match up against Braxton. Kinnan LaRose had trouble. EJ Anosicki had trouble on the perimeter. You put a guard on Braxton, he's going to back you down. So here it was set up perfectly. Braxton he gets his assignment. EJ Anosicki's on him, so he's at the perimeter. Everyone else is spread out on the red flash, so it's very difficult to double him. And then he just has a clear lane to the basket. Zach Pfaffenberger gets there a tad too late, and it's nothing but money for Braxton in what ended up being a game winner for St. Francis University.
Braxton been doing that his whole career, and ironically, they had another player, Randall Gaskins, who they called his number to go length of the court earlier in the year in a similar situation.
Yeah, Rob Krimmel has so many options, for kind of that end of game play. For that, like you said, for that, Gaskins was terrific. Going coast to coast there because of his speed, his ability to be comfortable in transition. In this case, though, it was a perfect call with Braxton getting the ball late and using his perimeter skills, his versatility as a stretch forward to get the final score.
Reigning NEC Player of the Year, doing NEC Player of the Year things, winning it, a big one for St. Francis last week. Milestone time now, Ryan. We've already brought up the LIU Merrimack game. There's so much to unpack from this game. It's incredible the amount of news that one game generated. We talked about Ty Flowers breaking the NEC and LIU record for rebounds in a game. Now we move on to Raekwon Clark. He passed Jamal Olasawir, the NEC Player of the Decade, as LIU's all-time leading scorer. He's top 15 in NEC history now. What a career Raekwon Clark has had.
Oh, tremendous, from former walk-on to now LIU's all-time leading scorer. And it's funny because you look at Clark and you look at Olasawir, those two players are seemingly cut from the same cloth. Their relentlessness to attack the rim and their ability to get to the line. Clark's now at over 700 free throw attempts. Olasawir's career was 860. They're second to none as far as getting to the rim and just being a handful to stay in front of defensively.
While Raekwon was breaking the school scoring record, head coach Derek Kellogg, he had a milestone win as well.
Yeah, 200th career win. He had 155 at UMass, now 45 at LIU. He's had 11 completed seasons as head coach, twice to the NCAA tournament, twice to the NIT. It's been a really fine career for Derek.
Those weren't the only two milestones. Up in Smithfield on Saturday, we had Adam Grant. He broke the all-time three-point record at Bryant. He has 282. And who did he pass?
De'Ami Starks.
A great one.
A great one, yeah. I mean, Adam Grant and Jared Grasso, it's kind of a match made in heaven because Jared loves for his team to hoist up threes. Adam Grant's the perfect type of guard in that system, and it's been a wonderful arrangement for both of them.
One of the NEC's elite sharpshooters, now 6th all-time in the conference. He's 18 away from 300 for his career, and if he gets there, he'll be one of only 3 players in the league's history to do it. We have a big week of NEC TV upcoming, starting on Thursday. We have a doubleheader, and we begin in Fairfield, Bryant at Sacred Heart on CBS Sports Network. This is a big game for both teams. Break this one down, Ryan.
Yeah, so it features 2 of the best shot blockers in the league. You have Jarrell Spellman, 2nd in the league in block rate, to Hall Elijahs, 1st in the league in block rate, 16% in the league. That's nationally ranked, I believe, top 10. It's interesting because both teams love to fire away from 3, but Sacred Heart's done a really good job suppressing 3-point attempts defensively, especially in league play. It's going to be really interesting to see Adam Grant and Kareem Ozier square off, 2 of the better guards in the league.
When that one's over, we're not done. 7 p.m. on ESPN3. This is another good one. First place Robert Morris visits Mount St. Mary. Should be a great crowd there. Seemingly back in the day, these 2 teams were meeting in the playoffs every single year. It's a great rivalry. Talk to me about some of the history between the 2 programs.
Oh, there's tremendous history. 2 seasons ago, Robert Morris was 7th seeded going into the NEC tournament. Took on a Mount St. Mary's team that featured Junior Robinson. That was his Player of the Year season. And I just remember Deshaun Burke blocking Junior in that final minute to secure the win. And then a few years back, you go back to Jamie and Christian's 2nd year with the Mount, a team led by Julian Norfleet, Rashad Wack, and Sam Prescott. They came into the Chuck and scored nearly 1.3 points per possession, and they beat a Carvel Anderson-led team. That was his Player of the Year season as well. They came in there and just kind of handily beat the Colonials to get to their first of 2 NCAA tournaments under Jamie and Christian. So you look at the history, you look at the rivalry. Like you said, the fans are going to come out and support this one. It's going to be a great environment.
2 of the best defenses in the league squaring off. Should be a grinded out type of game in Emmitsburg on Thursday. Then on Saturday, we're on ESPN Plus, 4 o'clock in North Andover. Merrimack hosting Wagner. Merrimack looking to stay on top while Wagner fighting for an NEC playoff berth.
Yeah, like I said before, Merrimack's on a historic run defensively. Now they have a defensive efficiency of 89 points given up per 100 possessions. That's tremendous in league play. I'm curious to see how they're going to slow down Curtis Cobb. Curtis has had some big games for Wagner. I think back to NEC opener at Mount St. Mary's where he scored over 20 points. He was money from long range. I'm going to see because Cobb has the athleticism. So does Alex Morales. They have the athleticism to attack the teeth of that 2-3 zone led by Joe Gallo. So it'll be an interesting matchup on Saturday.
Should be a great atmosphere for a national TV game, ESPN Plus at Merrimack on Saturday. Along with those games, as always, you can watch for free NEC Front Row, all the men's basketball action, along with the NEC On the Run series of mobile and streaming apps. Ryan, really looking forward to this weekend's games. We're hitting the home stretch. March is just around the corner.
Yeah, it's the most wonderful time of the year now, going into February and then March. As you said, the NEC tournament is literally 3 weeks away.
We are right there. That's it for this week's edition of NEC On the Run. I want to thank the best producer in the business, Kyle Turner. I want to thank Ryan Peters, as always, for stopping by the NEC Front Row Studios. We are off next week, but we'll be back in 2 weeks to set the scene with the NEC tournament at that point being right around the corner. Thanks for watching. This has been NEC Men's Basketball on the Run.